Hi, Pamela. Good morning. Yeah, good
Yes, good
morning.
afternoon to you, Maria. How are you today?
Thank you very well. It's a lovely weather here in the UK. I suspect that in California you're enjoying sunshine, nice weather too.
No, actually not today. It's a abnormal day today. It's overcast and cloudy and cold, and yeah, so that's why I'm inside today instead of outside.
Lovely talking to you again, and welcome to everyone watching us live on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. I'm Maria Dimitrova. I'm the company's IMSIM's head of business development, and I also happen to be a lead auditor on 6 different ISO standards, including information security ISO 27001 and the related ISO 20000, which is IT service management. And here with me is Pamela Dalmato. You already know she is in California, lovely place to be, and she is our regional manager for California, San Diego, and the area, Los Angeles. Pamela.
Yes, I love being out in California, and there's a lot of opportunity out here to help a lot of people with ISO 27001.
Pamela was just telling me a very interesting story, striking story, by the way. Pamela, will you please tell us all what you have just explained to me? It's spectacular.
Yes, sure. I was on a Zoom meeting this earlier this week, and the discussion was about ways companies get hacked that are unexpected. Well, it's always unexpected when you get cybersecurity attack to begin with, but in this one particular instance, a very large corporation got cyber security attacked through their printer. And because it was connected to the internet, cyber attackers were able to get through the printer and into all of their data, taking their data, all of it, every bit of it.
Thank you, Pamela. Your example comes to illustrate a very important point which was raised a year and a half ago by some experts in operational technology security, which is probably the weakest link in information security for a very simple reason. We are familiar with how to deal with cybersecurity from our point of view, technological point of view, and software point of view. We also can protect our physical assets from physical point of view, but operational technology is now becoming quite an issue for a very simple reason. Those devices, embedded systems, controllers, etc., have always been analog devices. In the last couple of years, so 3, actually, with the pandemic, working from home, etc., those devices started being TPC enabled, and now they're connected to the internet. They're the weakest link, and most of the attacks actually happen with precisely those devices. We would never expect a printer to betray us or a hit controller. But yeah, nowadays they're actually TPC enabled, internet connected, at and have become our weakest links.
Yes.
So, thank you for raising it. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be talking information security today, as promised. And let us walk you through the direct and related benefits from having an ISO 27001 compliant management system. So, we can we can prepare ourselves to prevent quite a lot of unexpected attacks. It helps us improve and maintain as well a competitive edge, because if we get attacked, we lose business. If we can prevent the attacks, we can actually gain business. In many occasions, we can see that procurement is involved. Why? Because our partners, our customers may require contractually for us to operate an ISO 27001 compliance system. And we'll be giving you a couple of examples straight away. So it helps us as well organize our legal contractual response to any further requirements. And our image is elevated. We can make our stakeholders feel much confident with regards to the coverage our services provide. So another benefit, and Pamela likes it very much, she likes when I say it, is the fact that it's a certifiable standard. Pamela, will you please talk about the benefits from certification?
Yes, there are so many benefits. We could take the entire time in this live stream to talk about the benefits. But Harvard studies have actually shown and proven for every $1 that you spend in this category of ISO certifications, that you will see a minimum of a $6 to $16 return on investment to that $1. So it's proven that it makes you money. There are companies and organizations that only want to do business with ISO certified companies and organizations. And there are many reasons for that, because it shows that that organization and company that has that ISO stamp of ISO certified 27001 on their website, that they've taken the highest international level extremes to protect their customers and their customers' data. So it's huge and monumental for a company to take the step to get certified for 27001 ISO. It's in this day and age, at this moment, it's imperative to have this certification.
Absolutely. And actually, ISO 27001 is not only about confidentiality, but also integrity and availability of your informational assets. So, going further, as promised, an example of potential contractual requirements. Pamela knows that I'm a huge fan of the US Center for Strategic and International Studies. And here is a quick short extract from a report they published in July 2015 with regards to the need for financial organizations to implement, operate, and certify an ISO 27001 compliant system. So we have been talking, Pamela and I, today about another nice article. It was published a few days ago, at the end of April, wasn't it, Pamela? With
Yes.
regards, what's your take on that article with regards to ISO 27001 and insurance projects?
Yes, a lot of people can actually equate that to homeowners insurance. If you don't have homeowners insurance and tragedy strikes you, you're just completely out of luck and out of everything. You've lost everything. And that's the same as this kind of situation with cybersecurity. If you don't have that insurance, you can actually completely go out of business. And it actually has been demonstrated that over 60% of the businesses that do get cybersecurity attacked actually go out of business.
Absolutely.
And it's because of two reasons. The attackers actually want to do two things. And the first thing is steal your data and replicate your business overseas or even in your own country. So they want your data to do that. As secondarily, they do want you to go out of business. So therefore, they won't have competition with your business that you started with in the first place. So it's a double-edged coin, because they're going to accomplish their goal, whether you as a business owner like it or not. And the insurance for cybersecurity, it is essential, but they're also saying that it's kind of one of those phrases where you can't cut off your nose to spite your face. So you can't not do it. And it is getting more difficult to actually obtain the insurance, but, and it is costly. But when you're looking at ISO 27001, to be able to have your own insurance program that's an international insurance program with a certification, you're able to accomplish that goal of being able to have the highest level of protection put in place. And it's very simple. And Maria and I talk about this all the time. A lot of companies think it's a very intense 2 or 3 year process to obtain ISO 27001 certification, and it's not. It's a 2-step process. You work with one of our ISO, such as Maria, one of our ISO certified 27001 assessor/auditors. You work with them for some months, and it depends on how large your organization is and what systems you have in place and what systems you don't have in place. But ultimately, you'll end up with a procedure manual that you'll be audited against. And that's the second step. You'll have a certification audit against that procedure manual and ultimately end up with a certificate. And that stamp of that ISO 27001 certification is what you put on your website.
Yeah, although no one can commit to any periods, working with MSM is a nice way of dealing with the workflow, and you can always work with experts. You always ensure that we know what we do, and we're happy to help you and give you support as much as you need. So indeed, we are there to help you with your system implementation. And I highly recommend that you guys check out the Center for Strategic and International Studies website, because they provide a lot of information on major attacks, on how the sector approaches some important issues, and it is interesting to have their take on what's going on cybersecurity and information security as well. Why? Because everything begins with the US. When the US detects the need for something, we all sooner or later follow in the shoes of the US procedure. So if they have started talking about cybersecurity and best practice in cybersecurity, information security, in order to harmonize the insurance procedures, so sooner or later it is going to become mainstream. Well, we promised Pamela and I a workshop, and we're getting there. But first of all, summarizing for you why best practice is the best thing to do, because it's not only hackers, it is not only ransomware, it is not only the internet, but also any kind of supply chain disruptions, any kind of new legal requirements, volatility in currencies, recessions, and every now and then new issues such as the working from home and now hybrid manner of working, and the newest one is the so-called Great Resignation. Who would have expected a few years ago that people massively would start leaving their jobs? Why is it that important to mention? It is important because we need to protect all the information assets we have, including the so called non structured information, which is actually our personal knowledge. This is the most vulnerable information an organization may have. So when people start leaving without an explanation, they just started leaving. We can lose a lot of assets. So let's have a look on how prepared we are with regards to identifying threats. Here we have a list of potential classification as direct and indirect threats. Again, this is an example. The system will help us classify our threats and work accordingly to eliminate any potential risks and to find new opportunities. So, what kind of direct threats we may decide to classify: out of date security policies, some loosened human resource security, maybe access control, maybe lack of encryption, or over encryption. Might be either of those. Why? Because encryption regulations worldwide are yet to be harmonized, so we don't know in each territory what kind of encryption regulations may apply. So we need to identify our threats, be able to classify them, and act upon. ISO 27001 is an ISO standard. It has 10 clauses. It has controls that apply in all business areas, from security policies throughout asset management, human resources, supply relationship, compliance. Most importantly, let's have a look again: physical and environmental security, operation security, communication security, and so on. Interestingly enough, ISO 27001, which is a complex standard, a sophisticated standard, is perceived as a very technical standard. Now, less than 40% of the controls are actually IT related. It's a management system. So it's all about how we manage what we do with regards to information security. And we operate using 4 simple steps. The principle behind ISO conformity is quite simple. We plan for what we want or need to do, we do it. We check what has been done. And in case of A, detecting any deviations, and B, any opportunities for improvement, we act upon. How? Planning what we need to do, doing it, checking how it has been done, and acting upon deviations and new opportunities. And in the middle of the cycle, we always, we nowadays put the concept of leadership. Why? Because leadership is essential for the system to communicate, to function, and to bring back any uh, new financial benefits. The system needs to be audited, and many organizations decide to get to invite an independent body to certify the system performance. Uh, Pamela, in your experience, how customers feel about auditing?
Yes, it's one of those areas where it's not so fun all the time, but it proves itself to be very valuable.
Thank you. And I would like to reassure our attendees that although 1001, as I say, is a complex standard, a sophisticated standard, and needs to be fully assessed and certified. Certifications are conducted under the 7 principles of auditing. So, integrity and impartiality is the first one. Auditors visit, assess your installations and your activities in a non-biased manner. They fairly present their findings. They do not interfere with your operations. Uh, there is full confidentiality. They're also independent with regards to their findings, and always approach the audits from evidence-based and so-called risk-based approach. In a nutshell, although those activities are complex, they are meant to help organizations identify the conformities, rectify any potential issues, and eventually get certified and against the requirements of this standard. There are a series of benefits from working with certifications, and in order to make ourselves comfortable with audits, let's start with some potential audit scenarios, internal audit scenarios at the moment. Why? Because ISO standards, in order to be externally certified, need to be implemented, monitored, improved, internally audited before getting externally audited as well. So, Pamela, can you please do me a favor and read the scenario for me?
Absolutely. And this one is when you're conducting internal audit on your ISMS, which is your system. You are part of an insurance company and you're auditing human resources. You ask the training manager to show you the training records for 3 people who work in the claims department. You see from the training record. Yes, from the training record that each has attended a course on care of customer information. The training manager explains that the course aims to maintain awareness and operational information security practices. You ask the training manager how they evaluate the training, and you are told, we ask every person who attends a training course to complete a questionnaire on whether they enjoyed the course, how useful they found the training, and how good the tutor was. The information helps us decide whether to send other staff to the course. You examine the questionnaires completed by the 3 people who attended the Care of Customer Information course. All 3 awarded high marks on how enjoyable they found the course and the usefulness of the course. All 3 also awarded a satisfactory score for the tutor. In your role as an internal auditor, what do you think you should do? A, document conformity with the standard. B, recommend an action for improvement. C, investigate further. Or D, document nonconformity with the standard.
Well, we should discard directly option B, recommend an action for improvement, because we're auditors and we should be absolutely impartial. We shouldn't interfere. So we are there to observe and see if these people do what they say and say what they do. So we'll need to find that match between what's said, what's done. Okay. Here it may seem that there is something not quite correct. Why? Because it looks like the way they evaluate uh, training is biased, doesn't it? However, the standard doesn't tell us how to construct our trainings in terms of content or how to evaluate them in terms of content. We don't know either if it's a big company or it's a small company. It's a sample of three. It might be relevant, it might not be. So, if it were me, I would go with further investigation just to make sure that I have all the details before I make any decision. And as a third party auditor, lead auditor, I'll share with you something that I consider very important. In my opinion, there are two capital sins in auditing. The first one is to file a non-conformity there is none. And the second one, as bad as the first one, is to file a non-conformity where there is a non-conformity, but without knowing why. Why? This is important because if you file a non-conformity without knowing why, you actually don't work on an on evidence basis. You work on your feelings, and this is being biased and against all the standards, all auditing requirements. So please, if you're not comfortable with the information you have, go further, check again, you'll find enough evidence to make an informed decision. In this case, we don't know if everything's okay or there is any potential issues. We need to check again just to make sure we're not making any mistake. Pamela, would you like to add anything to this, or I should continue?
Yeah, I would say until you dig deeper into areas, you're not going, I always use that phrase, you're not going to know what you don't know. So investigation is always key. You're never going to lose if you investigate further, but you can lose out on a lot as a corporation and organization with no investigation.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. So, scenario two, you're conducting an internal audit on your information security management system. In an area dedicated to disposal of failed and redundant IT equipment, you're examining the disposal record for asset number 1234, which is a laptop PC. You know that in the final inspection records, the word OK is written next to the statement that all information has been securely erased from the device. The record also shows that this particular laptop has been bought from the company by an employee for their private use. When asked about this, the manager explains that usable equipment is sold internally with proceeds going to a nominated charity. That's brilliant. You ask to see the equipment in use to verify that the information has been erased according to as it is stated in the record. The manager starts the PC and it boosts up to show a Microsoft Windows XP company's licensed operating system. Further inspection of the File Explorer indicates that the system is apparently empty. It's empty. Okay, as internal auditors, before we actually handle the device to the employee that bought it, what do you think we should do? Document conformity with standard. It's all okay. We don't do anything. We just handle the device to the employee. Recommend an action for improvement. Investigate further, or document non-conformity with the standard. We actually have just said that option B shouldn't be selected because we are impartial, independent, we don't interfere, we don't make any suggestions. Well, do you think that it is all okay, it is not okay, or we should do something else? Half a minute just for a quick Thought and Pamela and I will reveal what we would do if it were us auditing the system. I'm certain that Pamela would go with further investigation.
Can never lose with further investigation.
Well done, you. Yes, further investigation is very important. Why? Because as internal auditors, or people working with the system but not quite sure about what's going on, if we don't have too much experience, we may get it wrong if we decide that it is all okay or that there might be a problem. So, as Pamela says, one never loses if they go with further investigation. As a qualified auditor myself, I have grounds to directly go with nonconformity for a very simple reason. According to ISO 27001, there are some controls with regards to equipment disposal, and in this case, uh, these controls have been completely neglected. We cannot handle over to an employee for particular use company's assets. And here we have a company's licensed Windows XP asset, so we can't do it. This should be documented as a nonconformity straight away. Again, only if you know why. If you don't know, you go with further investigation. Okay. Let's jump on audit scenario 3, please. And Pamela, can you read it for me?
Sure. Get
Thank you.
Insured Limited is a small company of 40 people who offer commercial insurance broker services. All the data of insured clients are stored electronically on a data server to which all the personnel have access. The company is being audited by
Yeah, my bad. My bad.
no worries, by a third-party organization. During the audit, the Human Resource Department is asked to show evidence of non-disclosure agreements, NDAs, of the personnel. The Human Resource Manager shows the file with the NDAs of the insurance brokers. He assures the auditor that nobody else in the company reads the data of the insured clients. The auditor confirms that all insurance brokers have signed the non-disclosure agreement.
I can only apologize for so many spelling mistakes. I don't know how it has happened.
No worries. You do a great job with these slides. They're very informative.
Thank you. I try so hard to put my right Zs for you guys, not to be shocked with how we write organization and standardization in the UK, and look at the rest of errors on my slides. Shame on me.
No worries. But, getting to this slide though, Maria, in this scenario, every company has data that is very important. So
Yeah.
I think even though this is for Get Insured Limited, a small company of 40 people, every company that's in business experiences this with data.
Absolutely.
And their clients' data, their vendors' data, everybody's data.
And honestly, Pamela, I may shock our attendees now because I'm going to say that with this scenario, I wouldn't go with a nonconformity straight away. For a very simple reason. It looks wrong. As a technician, I would say one would never do such a thing. Unbelievable, that couldn't be happening. From my management, ISO management point of view, however, I would be biased if I went directly with a nonconformity. Why? Because I have to investigate further. Yes, it's true. Only the brokers have signed NDAs. Yes, it's true. it is available. Everyone has access to this server. However, there might be further controls that prevent everyone else from getting out to that data. So we need to investigate further. And here might be an opportunity for improvement. Some policies are obsolete. They were designed 15 years ago. I've put this example basically because it's an example for a very obsolete policy and obsolete working manners. So when we review this, we may find out that it's true, data is protected, but it is also true that we no longer work this way. So here we have an opportunity for improvement. This is the reason investigating further is so important. We may find opportunities to do it better. Okay, let's go further, and we have another scenario. Pharmaceuticals. Pharma Ltd is a large pharmaceutical company which produces and sells medicines. The R&D department is operating on a segregated area of the organization's VLAN. During a third-party audit at the R&D department, the auditor interviewed one of the research fellows who was working on a newly acquired laptop. Actually, that's irrelevant. The research fellow's laptop was found connected to a local Wi-Fi hotspot supported by an encrypted open provider. The research fellow mentioned that such connectivity does not affect the department and can be stopped at any time. What do you think the auditor should do? Aside from screaming aloud. Well, from a technical point of view, everyone would, wouldn't they? Myself included. However, once again, from a management point of view, we don't have grounds to directly file a non-conformity. For a very simple reason. There might be policies and procedures, internal policies and procedures that we're not familiar with. So because it looks like such a scandalous thing to do, doesn't mean that it is, only that we perceive it such as. In this case, we need to investigate further. We need to talk to the department manager, see the policies, see the procedures, and evaluate everything around, because it's an encrypted provider. It might be open, but it's encrypted. How many? Now, question to technical people. How many of you guys program with Python? Most of you, don't you? Python is an open source software. Because it's open source doesn't make it less efficient, less effective, or less secure for you to do your job. Just available. So an encrypted open provider might be a secure provider. We need to check out the organization's policies and procedures.
Maria, if I could add, a lot of companies and organizations, small and large, don't realize the implications of their cell phones and their employees' cell phones.
Absolutely.
They're an open target. When they're in a facility and they go on to TikTok or Facebook or Instagram, a lot of employees do this on maybe a 10-minute break in the break room. That's so quite common, but that is a threat. It's a huge threat. And then you have employers that think, oh, I feel badly for my employees. I want them to be able to, access whatever they want on their 10-minute break or their 45-minute or hour lunch, but they don't understand the ramifications of it. And once they actually know and find out how costly something like that, a breach could be through somebody accessing TikTok, and it's going to be too late if they
Yeah.
have a breach.
I was with a customer recently, a few weeks ago, and we were conducting their gap analysis. So I went through all the questions and we were talking around. However, at some point we had a break, and after the break, one of the gentlemen was late. So they said, the other gentleman looked at me and said, Maria, apologies, we'll just text him to come back. And we had been just talking about the communication policies, encrypted messages, etc., etc. And in front of me, after having stated that they used only encrypted channels for messaging, they messaged him on Skype, which would have been brilliant if Skype was on the approved messaging list. Unfortunately, it wasn't. So I said, okay, I cannot unseen what I have just seen. But it's just us. Doesn't matter.
You know, Maria, if I could add, and I believe this is probably one of the reasons why there's been so many cybersecurity attacks around the world, is through social media.
Yeah.
And because, and I feel that this, what I'm going to say now, has a lot to do with the amount of attacks that have been happening consistently over the last year. So January 25th of this year, 2022, the United States military actually issued out an orange alert for small to medium-sized businesses in the United States. And the orange alert is the highest level of alert for cybersecurity attacks that you could have. And I believe because social media is at its all-time high that it's ever been, you have so many platforms that somebody can have as an app on their phone or their computer, that it could be an instant millisecond breach. And so with this military alert, this orange level alert, it should make everybody kind of stop and think, well, with this orange level alert being the highest, what is the highest level of international protection that I could put in place for safety on my data? And ISO 27001 would be your answer, and would be everything that you need to be able to have that security and that peace of mind. There's got to be a peace of mind with all of this. That, as a business owner myself of 19 years, it was not, as when I was in business, it wasn't at the high level that it is right now, but it was still a concern. But now, knowing the numbers, and we have over 3,000, and this is the amount of people that reported. They say that 2/3 of the companies that do get cyber attacked every month and every year here in the United States, that they don't report it. They don't take the time to literally report it. So over 3,000 businesses a month that are reporting it are being cybersecurity attacked, and thinking and knowing that the statistics show 60% of them will or are out of business. They'll be out of business soon. These are statistics and numbers that should really have somebody take the step to contact imsm.com and allow us to be able to provide quotes and be able to get these systems in place for security management.
Yeah, and the most that's really very important, and I actually would like to highlight the fact that years ago we kind of looked at these situations as fiction. Let's talk about 007 movies. In 1997, James Bond, I think it was in Tomorrow Never Dies, was fighting a media mogul who threatened the world with social media and standard media, etc., etc. And it was fiction. No longer,
Yes.
I'm afraid.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, with that, Maria, is when right now, even in the United States of America, it's on the news. It's an informative. I get 500 to 600 non-spam private emails to my own private email every day, and I could tell you at least a third, if not 50% of them, are talking about countries that have been cyber attacked. Not only countries, but T-Mobile, major organizations that got cyber attacked and the damage, and that you as a customer of T-Mobile or wherever who got attacked is at risk, that your data, your social security number, your address, your banking information is at risk. I mean, that is horrible. Out here in the United States of America, it's on everybody's mind. Everybody's talking about it. I talk about it with my neighbors. I talk about it with other people that I used to do business with, even as a business owner. And it is quite concerning. And if people are not talking about it, then they're not in the news. They're not in the know. They don't know exactly what's going on at this minute and how at risk they are.
Costa Rica got hacked a few days ago. Their treasury received the first attack, and then a couple of other institutions. So they quite shut the country for several hours. Anyway, let's get on with our scenarios and have a look at InfoSec Trading Ltd, which is a training institute offering services of information security, design and integration of security system, and network security trainings. So during the interview of the course administrator, the third-party auditor discovers that the personal data of students are stored electronically in a publicly available server. When the auditor asks whether this information is accessible to people outside the organization, the course administrator explains that when students are signing up for a course, they sign a declaration stating that they have no objection for their personal details being on the company-owned server. Pretty similar to the previous one, although quite not. For a very simple reason, here we have, on the one hand, a statement about saving data on the company's server, but then putting it on a public server. Because we say something, but we do not do what we say, we have a non-conformity in here. And the key to this case is the fact that if we say something, we have to do what we say. If we don't, we have a clear mismatch. Then this is a non-conformity. Again, we have approached this scenario not from a technical perspective, explaining how vulnerable a public server might be, but from a management point of view, matching what has been said and what has been done. They don't match, non-conformity. So, shall we proceed? I think that there are a few more left for us, and we have time enough just to go through those. Scenario 6. Pamela, can you please read it out loud for me? Thank you.
Sure. You are conducting an internal audit on your ISMS. You are auditing the facilities management department in your organization, which provides and maintains office space and facilities for a large organization, including physical security controls. They are currently dealing with a serious complaint from I'm sorry, it's kind of tiny print. From the operations director, staff arrived to work in the morning to find that none could access their building using their swipe ID cards. Time critical customer services were, okay, I lost my spot.
Sorry.
That's okay. Okay. I can't find where I was.
I think that we stopped at IT service engineers on site are having difficulty pinpointing the root cause, but speculate that the default network settings of the CCTV system are conflicting with those of the door access control system. So they approach it from a technical perspective. You review the change control document X123 dated 3 months earlier and note that IT service and corporate security are listed as not applicable on the list of reviews. You confirm with the facility manager that this revision is the final version of the change control document and that IT services and corporate security did not review the planned change. You ask the facility manager why they were not involved with the change, and he replies that it was not really necessary as the CCTV system change was not technically complicated. He says the old system was disconnected from the network and the new system just plugged in. Just the plugging in the new PC, nothing else. He goes further to point out that the door access controls failed safe and prevented unauthorized access to the building. Okay, who's right, who's wrong, we don't know. Let's have a look at it. One more time. We have a technical approach, but where we'll find our solution is actually in the management approach. We can file quite safely a non-conformity for a very simple reason. ISO 27001 is set up to control all changes relevant to information security. They must be evaluated, assessed, evaluated, etc., 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 controlled. Here we have a huge failure and identifying and evaluating, assessing a change that actually has affected the system. Although from a technical point of view, it's a tiny change. You switch off, you switch on. Plug off, plug in. As easy as that from a technical perspective. However, from a management perspective, we can clearly see that it has conditioned serious consequences. Again, ISO 27001 allows us for a much better management on what we do. We go much further. We go for that extra mile that management gives us rather than sticking to strictly technical solutions. You can see it looks simple from a technical perspective. Not that much from management perspective though. And here we have the last one. Allsec Products Ltd is a consulting company. They provide IT security solutions involving the planning, advice, project management, and implementation of commercial and bespoke data security software and hardware. In the data center, the auditor discovered that there was no written procedure or written instruction for the operation of the backup.
That's scary.
You sure? Because, again, every techie person straight away reacts exactly the way you have just done. No way. No one does it. Okay, but how about if we are a 5 people big company? Do we need to write down every single procedure? What does the standard say? Backup is fundamental. Backup is impressively important. However, what the standard says, the standards controls say, is that there need to be a backup process procedure based on policies. If presented with this case, we need to investigate further and find out if there are any policies and how compliant these policies might be. If they exist, if they're compliant, we're okay. Because again, it might be a 5 people big company. So if policy exists, they must certainly know what they do when it comes to backup. Now, if we have a 50,000 people company, sounds scary. So I bet we'll find a non-conformity, but if presented with exactly this little information, please avoid being biased and check out standard and its requirements before making any decision. So I think this one was our latest slide. And we shall thank our attendees for being so patient and listening to us. Pamela?
Yes, I just want to thank everybody as well. And, this might be something that you may have never considered putting in place for your organization or your company, but hopefully, especially with the slides and the scenarios and the discussion that Maria and I have had about potential risks in your organization, in your company, no matter what the size is, there are risks. And I know that as a business owner of 19 years of my own company, you have to have policies and procedures in place for security and for safety for your information and your data. And we'd love to hear from you at imsm.com. We could provide proposals. And also, we have assessors that can also get on a Zoom call with us and a potential client or a Teams meeting and kind of go through their organization and how this would apply. So we welcome anyone to contact us with any type of queries or questions at all.
Thank you, Pamela. Thank you, everyone. And let's ask Caroline from marketing to take over and finish this session now. Caroline, all yours. Thank you again for your help.
Bye, Maria.
Bye, Pamela.